All right. Well, the big news this past week in some circles in wrestling was the Wrestle Kingdom event in the Tokyo Dome, the 17-star event. And obviously, life is short, and I've had a hectic week. And I didn't sit down. I understand the whole show went 5 hours. And FTR got beat again, didn't they? They've lost another belt. Now, there's no reason for them to have those other belts if they weren't going to have the big one of the American partners so that those other companies could crow about it. So now their gold is trickled away. But I haven't seen the whole thing, but I did get from an unnamed source from New Jersey by way of the Isle of Malta, according to ExpressVPN. I got the clips of the two things that caused the most talk and controversy or whatever. One was Sasha Mercedes Monet Banks's debut, and the other was the long-awaited showdown between Ostrich and Olivier. And so we're going to talk about that for a minute. For a lot of the people who don't live their lives around what happens in a Japanese wrestling ring, some of this may be news for you. You don't know these things. So we're going to talk about it. But, and you have seen those two things also, Brian, last, have you not?
I watched it wasn't the main event. I was going to say the main event. I watched the Omega Ospreay match, and I also watched the debut of Mercedes Monet.
Wait a minute, that wasn't the main event.
No, after that was Jay White versus Okada.
Jesus Christ.
And apparently they had a very difficult time following that.
What did they do? Did they both come out with rocket launchers and fire barbed wire wrapped hand grenades at each other's fucking orifices? That was, oh, all right, we'll get to that in a second. But the former Sasha Banks is now Mercedes Monet. And if I was Taya Valkyrie, old Frankie Monet was a cool name for the girl with the little dog and the Hollywood and the blah, blah, blah. Mercedes Monet, she had dollar signs dyed or bleached or whatever into her hairdo, did she not? Was that what that was?
I saw the colors. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't even notice a dollar sign design if it was there. It was just so many colors.
It was a color, but there was a plan to it there. It was she goes in colors. But anyway,
she comes in colors, not she goes in colors.
Goes in colors. Well, that's a deep cut in the Stones album, so forgive me. But anyway, the other girl, what's the other girl's name?
Kairi Sane.
Kairi Sane. Because she used to be something else, didn't she?
Well, no, she was Kairi Sane in WWE. Before that, she was Kairi Hojo.
She was
a big fan of former Met Howard Johnson.
She could be fan of the fried clams at the Howard Johnson Motor Lodge diners, like Terry Justice was, but nevertheless. Can we reference any more obscure people on this program that the vast audience has no idea what the fuck we're talking about?
You know that we can.
So Kairi Sane has won her match and she's got her belt. And here we join the clip that I see where suddenly an entrance takes place. And here comes the artist formerly known as Sasha Banks, Mercedes Monet. And she's got this wild ass outfit made. So obviously they paying her the big bucks, as has been rumored. She's got a brand new outfit. She's got the brand new hairdo. And they got the long walk there in the Tokyo Dome, so people have plenty of time to drink this in, and they're playing the music, and what a setup they got there, and we'll talk about it more when we get to the semifinal match on the card of what the New Japan production is like. But anyway.
I'm very curious to hear what you're going to say about that.
And the announcers were over the moon about Mercedes Monet being there. Were the fans, Brian? Because now I know, and we're going to talk about it, we'll preface this before we go any further with both of these comments from the Dome. There's been, with the pandemic, the Japanese are very strict, and they live in a very tightly packed, populated area to begin with. They've been pioneers of mask wearing for varieties of contagious diseases because of the close proximity everybody's into each other. And of course, there are more polite people and respectful of rules and manners and etc. So they, and during the pandemic, they obviously didn't allow gatherings, and then they let people back into arenas in certain percentages of capacity, and that's been modified over a period of time. So I'm not saying I know right now what the specific details are. If you're so goddamn interested out there, then look it up. I'm just trying to give you the basics in that they went from empty arenas, letting people in. Mask wearing was mandatory at one point, not sure now, but the point is now they're back in the arenas, but there was at one point, and maybe still be in some effect, that people were not allowed to cheer. They could clap, but they couldn't cheer and be blowing germs out in the air. And I always laughed when I heard that, like anybody in this country would, for 5 seconds, would observe that rule. Like every wise ass and rude asshole in the world here, a drunk fucking redneck, instantly. But over there, they actually do it mostly. But was this a case of people not reacting because they were screaming in Kenny and Willie's match? But did the name change and the completely different outfit and the different look and the different hair, did it fool people? Or did the general population there know that's Sasha Banks? Or what the fuck? This seemed a little, the reaction, the response.
Well, first of all, I mean, the Tokyo Dome's notoriously a hard building to get a big sound in because of the dynamics of it, and it's not being...
I was hearing the camera clicks of the photographers at ringside taking pictures of this as it transpired. I don't think the sound was the problem.
Well, beyond that, I can't speak to the popularity of Sasha Banks in Japan, so I don't know.
Okay, so...
I don't know if the name change thing matters. I mean, that's the big question. Does everyone know who everyone is, no matter what their name is? I mean, this ends up being almost like Glow, where McLean started his next promotion, whatever it was, Wow. And then he took the Glow Girls, but he couldn't use the Glow Girl names, but they were the same people, the same characters, just different names. I think everyone knows who she is. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not as strong a name as Sasha Banks, probably, but it's had years to be developed, that name.
I was just wondering if people were confused, because even if they heard Sasha Banks was going to be there, would they recognize this person with different hair, different name on the screen, different music, different clothing, top to bottom? Or did they think, oh, there comes somebody we've not ever heard of or seen before?
No, I think everyone knew who she was.
Okay, they just didn't care.
Or the sound wasn't picked up well. I don't know.
Well, then, okay, we will give equal time if anybody out there had a better feed or was there live or whatever, has a differing opinion, but she walked in like she was hot shit. She was glorifying in the presence, and she did the poses, and she stripped her kimono off like she was about to grab a pole. She's standing there with the other girl, Kairi Sane, who's just won the match. She's the champion. She got the belt. She's still in the ring. And instead of Sasha Banks Mercedes Monet getting in and even doing these things toward Kairi Sane or taunting her or confronting her or acknowledging her, she did it to the people. Like, I'm here. And I'm about to strip, maybe, because she started taking her clothes off in a provocative way. And then she turned around and stared at Kairi Sane. And then Kairi Sane's holding the belt up, and everybody was immobile for about 30 seconds. Like it's this, you could almost tell that they in their mind were envisioning that this was the Andre and Hogan stare down from, the fucking Silverdome. So they stare at each other, and then Mercedes offers Kairi Sane her hand. She takes it. They shake hands, and then Mercedes jerks her toward her into she spun around backwards and got the girl up on her back with their arms hooked in some fashion, and then was gonna fucking spin the girl around again, and I think a DDT was what it was gonna be or something. And instead, when she spun her off her back, she just went to the mat. That she lost her completely, and then she went down right afterwards. And then Carrie Sane realized about a second after she'd hit that she was supposed to have been DDT'd, so she suddenly popped back up like she was selling her face. I don't know what the fuck happened. They fell in a crumpled fucking heap like a Salvation Army drop box. And then Mercedes Monet gets the microphone and does you can't call that a promo. She spoke words on the microphone. Was she drugged? Was she hypnotized? Was she, having a medically induced coma suddenly come on? Was she shocked that she had just fumbled everything? Because, I mean, that's the equivalent of a goddamn, a basketball player coming out on the fucking court and the first play grabs the ball, does a dunk, and breaks his fucking leg. She came out with the big entrance and the music and the new outfit and everything. And the first thing she does, she jerks this girl up in the air and then they fall in a heap. Maybe she was rattled, but the promo was no emotion and just said some things and then picked up the girl's belt and posed and did a stripper dance kind of while the girl was laying there still selling nothing except falling off her back. Was that what you saw?
It wasn't done well. She definitely sounded stuffy on the mic. Didn't really have anything coherent to say. They botched whatever the one thing is that they were going to do. She's always had exotic looks and different color of hair, but I don't know about that color of hair, or I don't know if it's a wig. I don't know what the hell was going on. And we'll see. This will be interesting. She's now not with WWE. She's going to work in Japan. We'll see if that matters to their business. Will she go to AEW as Mercedes Monet? It's going to be a big test to see what Sasha Banks does and what she could possibly do outside of WWE.
Well, and, here's the thing. And we've talked about that some guys just don't fit in the WWE environment. They didn't transfer in the 80s from Crockett to WWF, or they don't fit in the WWF or WWE environment today. They'd fit better in someplace else, whatever the case. The opposite can be true also. This girl has never wrestled anywhere outside the WWE or its affiliated programs, right?
Oh, no, I think she did do indies before she went to NXT.
Did she?
I think so, because I could be wrong, but I want to say she worked for Sheldon Goldberg at some point. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think so.
Well, she wasn't widely traveled. Oh, but at the same time, that would have been, how long she been with the WWE?
Over 10 years, I think.
10 years.
Yeah.
You rely, some talent that don't have a strong background in wrestling of any kind, even if it's the independents, but you still get some experience, even if not a lot of, teaching in psychology, you get experience in doing different shit, that some of it works and some of it doesn't, and you figure things out on your own and you get ideas for yourself. And I know you can have a million ideas for yourself that you've never tried, and suddenly you get to try them all. A lot of them ain't going to work, but the people who've had the background in the past when they started to try a lot of that shit and get it out of the way, the talent that just exists in the WWE environment tends to, in some cases, it seems like, rely on people, the producers that are always there to tell, oh, don't do this, or a performance center where you can get with your specific opponent. How long's it been since she's laid hands on Kairi Sane? Maybe they were rusty. The flawless production WWE has to try to hide a lot of their folks' flaws and weaknesses. And just the script writers that come and say this and drill them on it or whatever the fuck. Some talent can't stand that. It would drive me crazy. Some want to get out of it. Some kind of come to rely on it like that's what the business is supposed to be. And then when they're in a position where they're not only in a foreign country, but they don't have all that same structure that they're used to. So who knows? But it can work both ways. Some talent, especially the ones that are not strong mentally or physically or psychologically in a wrestling standpoint, but more into sports entertainment, they will struggle anywhere but WWE because they get used to that system. Does that make any sense?
It does, and we'll see if that is the case with her. And it's also, it makes sense, but also on the other hand, not that it disagrees with what you're saying, but if that is all you know, you have to be a special breed of wrestler to look beyond that or know beyond that or have instincts that are really good. Everyone wants to do their own thing. Everyone has their own ideas. Very few have the instincts that are correct to do them correctly. I think when we see MJF and AEW...
You are correct, sir.
When we see MJF and AEW, by and large, his stuff works in that way. He seems to get it in the way that... And again, I'm not focusing on Sasha Banks because I don't know, but there are certain people stuck in a system where they never develop those improvisational skills. They never develop skills to talk in a different way or be different than the system that you've been in your entire run.
And I'll tell you one thing about MJF, and we weren't even on him at this point, but just since you brought it up, he freaked me out in MLW that he has had the ability to grasp mostly exactly what this business is and had already studied people who were very good at it, from 20, 30 years ago before it went to hell at a young age without necessarily having at that point talked to any of the greatest minds in the history of wrestling. I know he never met Eddie Graham, but some people just get it quicker and have more aptitude for it. And some need to have everybody around them tell him what they just look at it like I'm a character actor playing a part. Here's the people who give me my script. Here's the producer that lays out my action scene. But a guy like MJF gets the root of idea of wrestling and knows it's all about him and what he can do and does.
There are certain people who don't need the producer to guide them.
Yes. But every once in a while, then you have a collaboration where you got, fucking Tarantino and Bruce Willis and...
MJF and Jericho.